Welcome to Everweird, where I'm taking a look today at the Ruins of Castle Gygar, which is a recent Kickstarter that was just fulfilled. It is a zine, it is a mega dungeon for old school role-playing games. I think specifically for OSE, designed for use with old school essentials. I think it's one of those also that's easily ported into OSR games that are compatible with BX or AD&D. This zine is just packed with information, and it's well laid out, it's well written, it's really easy to read, and I just appreciate it so much. There is history if you need it. There are some procedures and notes on monster types. There are more design things I will talk about as I look through it, but like all great old school supplements, it makes full use of the inside covers so that you've got random encounters on your back cover and relics on your first cover. This is a cool way to quickly make relics, as in magic items. And there's specification that relics do not need to be identified by a wizard, and any class can use this relic. But it's a one-time use, but it's just a very cool idea of like roll 2d6 and grab a condition, object, and origin of this relic. So I guess you could do that 2d6 3 times and get a grimy dagger that is dwarven and contains the spell Mass Morph. So you can come up with these unique relics anywhere you need them in the dungeon. Great idea. The dungeon itself has just this old school but very clear layout principles here. Basically always done like this, where almost the entire floor is described opposite the map. But I found it really clear to look here, find the room over here. The level and the room number are denoted here. In other words, 0.6 is level 0 and room number 6. You can quickly find it right there. Quick description of it and just the explanation. It's super clear. And here's one of those great design points I wanted to mention. If a room is lit, it has a white background. And if it's not lit, it has a black background. Taking a design idea that I first saw in Gradient Descent, which is a mothership module, this is put to such good use here in an old school dungeon crawl. As I'm working my way through Gunderhofen, appreciate this so much, because as I play something solo, I'm constantly looking in descriptive text. Is this door locked? Is this room lit? Like, I want really clear visual cues as to whether that's happening or not. And I'm getting them here. Secret door, one way. This room is not lit. This room is lit. It is just really cool to read something like that. It feels like it's old school, but using all the tools of modern information design that I want to see. There is sort of a hex map here. That level 0 are the dungeons outside Jotunsburg. So that's your level 0 around there. And then as you make your way to Castle Gygar, you're going to find the mega dungeon itself, where it is level 1 through level 12, I believe is the last one. You can see as you go down, the complexity is going to expand enormously. It is one of those dungeons, I think this is exactly what we look for in a mega dungeon, which is a low to no prep kind of thing. I feel like I can run this right out of the book. I have had a couple of confusing moments where I try to determine where my entrances and exits are. In other words, if I want to describe a little bit better to my players how they got to a place, it's taken me a couple times to like look through things and figure out how everything's connected. But other than that, and besides the fact that most of the levels are pretty complex, and when I run an OSR game, I like to have the players mapping it. The more complex it is, the more that does put a little bit more work on myself and the players, because I'm going to have to describe how many feet down this is, and all the exits, and whether the doors are stuck, locked, secret, whatever. It's big deal. I got to do that anyway. But yeah, I do think this is clear enough that I could run it straight out of the book with very little preparation. I'll tell you just straight up, I'm not going to read through this whole thing before playing it, because I want to be surprised and delighted along with the players. I want to kind of find those levels as they do. I might end up playing it solo before I bring it to a table with players. It feels so accessible to me in that way. Monster stat blocks are denoted in gray, and they are also really clear and easy to read using just old school markup for that. There's even a complete bestiary in the back for any monsters that they've introduced. including monsters like skeletons and ghouls, ogres, orcs, things you would find in a standard monster manual for old school games. I appreciate that they're here. There's always a balance of space when you're making an old school zine, and how much stuff do you tell the GM just refer back to your OSE book or your rules cyclopedia. Sometimes we just want to be able to quickly find, like, what are my skeleton stats? And here they are. So I really appreciate that. As I mentioned, there are the random encounter tables on the inside back cover, which is an easy place to find them. I found everything in this book to be just really accessible. I really love the look of the maps as kind of old school and hand-drawn, but you can tell clearly cleaned up digitally so that it's easy to read and follow. On the map as well, you can see the darkness and light denoted in the design. Magic items and monsters are bolded here, so you can quickly find them, identify them as you're, kind of previewing this text. I just love everything about the Ruins of Castle Gygar. As I was saying that and thinking like, oh, I might play that solo, I think I will play this solo. I think this looks like a really fun way to learn Castle Gygar, and certainly much more accessible than Gunderhofen or one of those gigantic mega dungeons. I mean, this still qualifies 12 levels, 13 if you count the level 0. This is like so complete. You could run this for probably multiple years as a campaign. So yeah, I want to take a look at that solo. I also really appreciate the maker of this and their communication around the Kickstarter and beyond that, even after the delivery, has been so refreshing, so great to hear everything there, just said clearly. They've also made a point of sticking up and supporting human rights that are increasingly threatened these days, and it's great to just read that as part of a Kickstarter with no rant behind it, no screed, just a simple statement of their humanity and compassion. And I really love this creator. I will follow what they do. Thank you very much. Onslaught 6, Ruins of Castle Gygar, absolute winner.